And now, it's time for the Josh and John Show.
Hello, and welcome to the Josh and John. That's John, Jon. Just to let you know.
Show.
Yes, absolutely. Sports, politics, and everything else. Center left, center right. You guys, it's up to you to make the opinions on it.
But we would like to give you our opinions on lots of topics, as you know. And for this session, we're going to dive into basically the topic of democracy and its spread around the world.
Some politics,
politics, some pretty deep politics, maybe even philosophical side of politics. So what we're asking ourselves for the past, I don't know, for years. Is what is the best form of government? And clearly here in the United States, we think it's democracy. Winston Churchill once said,
I would hope so.
Yeah, that democracy is the worst form of government, but it's the best one considering all the other options.
Yeah, and I'd love to debate Winston Churchill right now on the show.
Let's go with that. That'll be a whole nother session. That one would be a good one.
It would.
But with democracy now being spread, especially within the Middle East and North Africa, all the events surrounding the Arab Spring, I'm left questioning if democracy is the best thing for those countries. Now, who am I to say what's best for those countries? You know, they should be able to choose, and they have chosen. The people have risen up against dictators such as Ben Ali in Tunisia and Mubarak, the dictator of Egypt. And they're trying to figure out how to go forward, and they've chosen democracy as the form of government.
The people.
That's right.
And I think I think we can all agree, that we feel that the people of any country should have the choice of what kind of government.
Right, to govern themselves.
Yeah. Okay. We're obviously clear on that.
Definitely, but as Americans, and really from the political point of view of Americans, as these people make their decisions, they're going to elect, the individuals they feel are best representative of themselves.
Right. As do we.
As do we. And I think that's, again, there's no problems with that. However, are we prepared for the consequences of those who are elected? Just like the rest of the world has to live with the presidents we elect, be it Obama or Bush or whomever, we're going to have to live with someone like Morsi, which is not even the Egyptians want at this point. So, John, I want your opinion. If we spread democracy, or if democracy even spreads on its own, and a country, say, like what happened in Egypt, elects someone from the Brotherhood of Islam,
Muslim, right?
Yeah, the Muslim Brotherhood. Yeah, there is. Are you okay with that? I mean, are you okay with that result, given that the people are giving their opinions about who should run their country, and even though it's not in the best interest of the United States, or is it in the best interest of the United States?
Well, I first off, I think that the people of any and every country should elect in who they feel is best fit to run their country. Democracy, and obviously, I as a supporter of George W. Bush, who really kind of leaked to the world and kind of said it early on that democracy is going to spread and people are going to hunger for it, and that's turned out 100% absolutely true, obviously.
And that's right, yeah, it has turned out true.
Right, but
which is pretty shocking, really.
Well, you're a liberal, so I'm sure it's real shocking to you, Josh. But I like what you brought up. Is that best interests? Are they going to put in people with the best interests of Americans? And I say, well, that really doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. But the danger is, what if the people, decide to put in someone from the Taliban or someone dangerous like that? Then, it's almost like democracy has worked against us, and that's a scary thing to have, in Iraq and Afghanistan. The people, weren't full-blown supporters of their leader.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the Republican Guard in Iraq ran. So what the danger to me is, you get a guy in there who gets the full power of his people, and he decides he's anti-American. Where do we go from there? You see what I'm saying?
No, I totally know what you mean. And I don't think it's a question of, do the people want democracy or should they have it?
Right.
They certainly should if they believe
if they
so.
want it. Yeah.
Right. But what's going on in...
I mean, what do you think about that, though? I mean, to let you rebuttal.
No, of course.
I took the liberal shot.
No, I actually, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they should be able to govern themselves appropriately. What happened when Mubarak was ascended to power, he was granted emergency governing rights, so he wasn't even supposed to be like a long-term solution. So this is kind of a culmination of all those events in the past.
Right.
Now, I don't think we as a superpower, as the superpower, have the right to go in and basically put in a pro-American guy just because we can when they elect someone that we don't feel is in our best interests.
As to where maybe George W. Bush kind of went a little bit more that way than he should have.
Right, but that's what's interesting about the Bush doctrine.
And I agree with that.
Right, and I think that's a kind of an easy one. But that's what's interesting about the Bush doctrine, as you mentioned earlier, is that his plan to spread democracy, whether or not that was the original plan to go into Iraq, actually has worked. I mean, I don't know if you want to give him, if he deserves all the direct credit, but it did happen in that region. Syria's going through its civil war and trying to figure out how they want to move forward without Assad, or assuming the rebels were to win. Right. And the same thing happened in Tunisia. Libya's going through, their own transfer of power. But I'm wondering if it's kind of backfired, for the administration. That they do have democracy. Because take Afghanistan. Afghanistan, you have Karazi, who's the current prime minister, president, and his term ends in 2014.
Right.
And just to throw out the crazy hypothetical, like you kind of said a second ago, if the Taliban gets elected, where
do we go from there?
Did we just kind of turn back the clock and now we start over and throw them out again? I mean, how would you feel if the Taliban was brought back, if they were elected, fair and square? They did all the right things to run a clean election, whether how likely that is.
Well,
do you go back in and take them out?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's the danger, and then we have an administration that wants to hurry up and get all of the troops out of Afghanistan.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of, history repeats itself. We've supported people, we've supported terrorist groups before, we've armed them, and now we're almost politically rearming them again. And, that's kind of how I feel on that. And again, we have Bill Ebanks, the Josh and John special contributor. What say you on all this? I'm sure you have
I guess
have a sense of direction, or
right. Yeah, the question I want to ask you, Bill, is spreading democracy around the world good for America?
Well, the first thing, okay, so we're Americans, and we think in an American mindset, right? The thing, if we were Muslims and we grew up in a Muslim country, we'd be thinking differently. The thing is that America has three elements. We have democracy, where we vote. We have the republic, in which the people can speak. And then we have also capitalism, right, in which we're trying to make money. And we're trying to spread the wealth around the country, which is not a bad thing necessarily. However, they don't look at it that way. The Islamic ideologues do not look at us as if we are something good for them.
But they're choosing democracy, wouldn't you say?
Well,
I mean, at least going more that direction.
You're talking about Egypt right now?
Sure. Yeah. Egypt. Yeah.
No, we're talking about Egypt. Egypt understands, and they like the iPods. They do like, they like...
Or droids.
They like the droids. See, so what we have to understand is this, right now, is that is capitalism a cancer that's going to spread throughout the world? Or is there ideologies that will actually mean something in the world that'll make the world a better place? This is what they're thinking.
Yeah, okay, but again, Afghanistan should have a democracy, correct? I mean, do you support them having a democracy?
Hey, do you vote in the Muslim Brotherhood?
Well, no, I'm just saying to go along with what we were talking about earlier in the show. Do you support Afghanistan having a democracy?
I support, and everyone should support democracy.
Okay, and with that being said, if they do democratically elect a Taliban leader,
right.
how much does that trouble you?
Well, what I'm saying right now is you're for democracy, and if they do elect a Taliban leader, are you going to say, well, that's okay?
So you think you should take him out? Just George W. Bush him?
No, what I'm saying is this, is that we elect them like Egypt has just done. They elected the Muslim Brotherhood as the leader of their country, and it was fine until the people said, no, this is not what they want. And then they said, no, we want to have an actual republic. Mm-hmm. We want to have people who... Okay, so if you vote in a dictator, is that going to be the final solution to your country, to your country's problem? No. Right. So what you need to do is fall back like Egypt. Egypt is actually a perfect example of what democracy, a republic, is all about. They took out the Taliban. I mean, they took out the radicals. They took out the Brotherhood. They are now saying we want real liberty.
Well, really, I look at it as more they took out Morsi, the person who was elected.
Well, Morsi was...
He didn't live up to their expectations, because the Brotherhood of Islam is still going to be there. They're still a political party. But, you know, since they have overthrown him, now they're going through what might be... I mean, they could descend into a civil war themselves, you know, and that's what's definitely happening in Syria. And I don't know if they're fighting for democracy in Syria outright. However, they definitely don't want, you know, well, there's many people who don't want someone like Assad calling the shots. So, with that being said, I mean, having democracy as a political tool, you know, they're going to interpret it the way that they think is best for them. Because I don't think they want to elect a dictator either. You know, I mean, it's whoever comes to power is going to, you know, govern the way they think is best, and maybe they do become a dictator, or maybe they don't.
What the people want, Josh, is whether it's to their detriment, is freedom. And even if it means iPods, even if it means free internet, droids, even if it means Samsung, what they want is freedom. They want to be able to live the American dream. America has stood for 30 years, 40 years, freedom. And they want that. And that is going to be what dictates overall. Even though to the detriment, because American society is not perfect. We have our problems.
And that's all well and good. But let's say they do adopt exactly the type of democracy we have, and the next guy that they elect decides that, hey, I want to invade Israel.
Right.
You know, I mean, have we created a monster?
Well, and I would like to touch on that. I think it is one of those things with what they're doing is good because, you know, me and Josh have talked about this. You know, just because the United States, you know, we wrote the Constitution, we had these great four founders, it worked, boom, on the first try, doesn't mean it's gonna necessarily work that way for every other country who decides that they want to go towards a democracy.
Well, you said it
You
well.
know.
You said it well. We wrote the Constitution. No, it's not the Constitution.
Well, the Constitution of the United States. We wrote.
Right.
And that's a good point because they have their Constitution. But Josh, I want to go back to kind of what I think is a focal point that you brought up, and you can elaborate on it. That they elected a Taliban, Afghanistan, whatever. And what do you think? Do we do what George Bush did and get rid of them, or do we just kind of play the Obama game where we just sit back and try to be diplomatic about it and go from there type thing?
Well, it's a
because I'm not saying either is right or wrong.
And going on with the hypothetical, I mean, it's a really hard question because we went in there for Afghanistan specifically. We went in there to take out the Taliban. That was goal number one.
Right.
Well, one of the goals. And aside from of course Al Qaeda and Bin Laden.
Right.
Now, if they are to be elected, obviously that kind of puts us back where we started.
Right.
Now, I want to see if that were to happen. Of course, I would want to understand the new leader and see what their intentions are. But assuming their intentions are the same, I do believe we are justified to go back in.
Okay.
But then that makes us very hypocritical as a nation. I mean, to say that one reason we invaded Iraq was to spread democracy, and then it spreads, and then it backfires. What do we do next? Do we put in people that are pro-American who just will probably get thrown out all over again, and the cycle just continues?
So you're saying it's more of a case-by-case
It
scenario.
definitely is a case-by-case scenario. I just think it's surprising how it's turned out.
Yeah. It's amazing.
I really don't have an answer for it because I do think these people, like we said, should be able to govern themselves accordingly.
Right.
I do think democracy is the best form of government.
Sure.
Are we prepared for the rest of the world to have democracy?
Yeah, that's the burning question. I was going to say, Bill, we'll give you the last word here, and we got to run.
I agree. Real quick, democracy is very fine. Everybody loves the fact that we can all vote in who we like and who we don't. However, we're talking about 100 years from now. The war on terror, which there is a war on terror. I don't know if people, your viewers, understand that. I mean, whether they're liberal or
I'm sure
conservative, there is a war going on.
Yeah.
And I think that what's going to end up happening, it's not going to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I think that people are going to understand that this is ideology at war, and it's not going to stop. And unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Yeah, well, and that's that's the truth, and only time will tell, obviously. But we got to wrap up here on the second session. Thanks for tuning in. We got a third session coming up right after this, and thanks for listening in. Have a great night.
Yep. Thank you so much.